mentor of mine once said that state matters more than script. In other words, you need a toolbox or a repertoire of ways to help people shift their state either up or down to more focus. So typically we think energizer, and I'm gonna argue that actually you need both. You need a few that go zzz. You also need a few that get people more focused, calm, present, ready. And so we're gonna share some exercises. Some will take your group up and some will take your group present. Fluff belongs on a sandwich, not in a video. So we're gonna get right into these 7 energizers and they're gonna move quick. Stick around for the end where we're gonna share a couple tips to ensure that all 7 of these work for your group perfectly every time. You ready?
I'm ready to play all the time.
Number 1 is called?
Space counting. It sounds like we're gonna go out of space, but we're not. We're gonna actually sit on these seats, Chad. So I'm facing you. I'm gonna ask you to, are you right-handed? I actually should know that after all these years, but
I am right-handed.
So I'm right-handed. I'm going to ask you to pull out your pointer finger. Imagine this is your writing instrument. I'm going to ask you in this space, link, is where you're going to be doing some counting, because here, in a moment, when I say go, because that works well to start the game, is you're going to draw the number 1 in the air, and then you're going to draw the number 2.
That's backwards, Mark.
Oh no, you're going to draw your 2.
Oh, okay.
And the key is you're going to go from 1, 2, 3, all the way through to 30. As fast as possible.
Ooh,
okay?
ready.
And if you happen to get to 30 before me, you punch the air, not the boom, and clearly celebrate the fact you got there before me.
Okay.
We're looking for velocity. Fast, moving warp speed from 1 to 30.
All right,
you ready? Okay, it's in front of each other. We're gonna, because it's, you could actually, disengage me. Are you ready?
Okay.
And go.
I think I'm totally lying at this point.
Go back and rub out something you didn't do well then. That's it. Okay.
You're so committed. This is amazing.
Okay.
Wow.
Clearly, in the space of a very, very short amount of time, you can imagine a whole group of people, even just a classroom, the energy is just going, and it took you, 30 seconds? But let's have a look at why it works. You know, we mentioned earlier about how state matters more than script. It's also true, and this is not something we've made up. This is fact, this is science, it's evidence-based. It is impossible to change how a person thinks or what they do without first changing how they feel. Critical. You can replay back that. It is exactly as I've said it. So notice, if they weren't ready to learn, or they're not ready to cooperate or lean in, or whatever it is that you're doing with your group, and they just need a little bit of a burst, you will have influenced the way they're feeling, which is the platform on which you can change the way they think and the way they behave. That's why it's working.
So this is kind of hilarious because when we had this written down, I've been leading space counting differently. And the way that I've been leading it is I'm going to count to 10 as quickly as possible, but you need to stay with me as quick as possible. If either of us feel like we've deviated too much, then we need to start over at the beginning.
Lovely variation. That's often the second part. This is great.
Oh, round 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Activity number 2, really remarkably simple, but extremely effective at getting people to just arrive. And here's the danger of continuing on with any type of gathering without an exercise like this, is that everybody's in different meetings, right? So even whether you click a link or you walk into the same room, you're not in the same room. You've had a very different morning than everybody else. Yep. It was a different temperature. You had different conversations. You're in a different mood. You've had a different week. And so this exercise is really simple. Take 60 seconds of pure silence, and all you're inviting the group to do is count the number of sounds that you hear in the room.
Can we do it for 10 seconds?
We can do it for 10 seconds.
All right, ready? Go. Okay. I heard 4.
Ooh. I, to be honest, was thinking about asking the editors to insert a bunch of funny sounds in 10 seconds. So I only heard the fan. What did you hear?
I could hear faint talking in the next room. I could hear banging underneath us, and there was the crinkle of my shirt.
So for both of us, actually, because this is going to happen with the group, there's going to be me, who's like squirrel thinking about something else, and then Mark, who actually followed the directions. And for both of us, what it did is increase the awareness of ourself in that moment. We just took a minute to like close out the world and just say, okay, this is what I am experiencing right in this moment. And I would say that that 10 seconds increases the chances that people actually arrive and are present, which means that you can now continue on, perhaps with activity number 3, which is called
Psychic Handshake. So you've got your group in front of you, and you then ask everyone to think of a number that's either 1, 2, 3, or 4. No fractions, no decimals, just one of those 4 numbers. They don't tell anyone, they just keep it to themselves. That's the psychic element of it. And then, over the course of the next 30 or more seconds, you invite them to shake hands. But the kicker to this is that as they shake hands, their objective is to find everyone else in the room who is thinking the same number as them. Okay? So I might be thinking a particular number, and I'm looking for everyone else who's thinking exactly the same number. On average, you'd think it'd be like quarter, 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 quarter. It never works out like that. So here's what's about to occur. You think, well, if I can't talk, and I will also ask, don't use fingers, the only way you can communicate with everyone else in the room to find your people is by shaking hands. And we shake hands quite deliberately the number of times of the number you're thinking. And guess what? Chad's going to do the same thing. So very quickly you discover if you're on the same path or not. So are you ready, Chad?
I'm ready.
Here's the key. When you get to your number, stop. Hold rigid. Don't go any further, okay? You got the idea?
Got it.
And go. All right. I shook once. Clearly that was my number, but he wanted to go further. He was 2, 3, or 4. It doesn't matter. So we know we're not in the same group. So this is a great way of just randomly dividing people up, but it's also a great way to energize, warm up, and stretch your group to get them up and have their bodies moving. At the end, all the 1s are together, all the 2s are together, 3s are together. Here's my pitch. I guarantee you the 1s and the 2s will be a lot less people than the 3s and the 4s. My theory is people either love 3 and 4 more, or they just like shaking hands a lot. I don't know, something like that.
And to demonstrate, so let's say we both pick 2, right? When this happens, feels good. And it actually, like, without telling people to celebrate if they found a match, there is immediately your neurons go and feel like they found a match. And so there's some excitement. And now your group is growing and growing and growing. So if you've got, whether you've got 100 people or 500 people or 12 people, within, how long would you say this usually takes?
Oh, 60 seconds. You know, the longest part is almost you having to describe it, but if you gave it 2 minutes, you've got more than enough time.
So within 60 seconds, you split up the entire group. Everybody's moved a bunch, had a little exchange. You've handed out Purell at the end. We're all good. Activity number 4, from here to there. What an energizer should do, in my opinion, is give somebody the option or choice to shift their state. And so this activity is really quite literal. You're going to ask people just to say, can you just come up with one single word to describe your current state? So let's actually do this right now. We've been filming for a little while here.
Calm.
Eager. All right?
Okay.
So these are 2 words that we're feeling now. So as a facilitator, I've invited everybody to come up with their current word. I said, beautiful, exactly as you're feeling is exactly as you want to feel. Beautiful, exactly as you're feeling is perfect. And I want to give you the option. We've got, let's say, 58 minutes together left, or 2 days together left, or however much time. Can you come up with one word that describes how you would like to feel at the end of our time together today?
Celebratory?
Purell. No, I'm just kidding. Content.
Yes.
There you go. And that could be, you could actually just stop right there. You could actually pause right in that moment and just say, great, don't do any other facilitation, and just keep it really, really quick. Let me add one clarification. I would invite at least people, or give people the option to share their second word with somebody nearby. So instead of just doing this individually, not the first word, keep the first word to yourself. The second word, invite them to share it with a person nearby. Just a little bit of interaction there. And so you get the human energy exchange, but also a little bit of the social accountability.
Yeah, and affirmation. Because they're more often than not going to go, got it. They might even want to know more, which is fine if you've got the time.
Yeah, or like, I'm going to change my word. Now I want to be, If you wanted to take it one step up from that, you could just say, all right, you've got 20 seconds. What I want you to do is think about one thing you would like to do between now and the end of our time to help you move a bit closer to that word. And so what you're doing is creating and carving out the space for people to choose how they want to manage their own energy. And you might get a couple examples. Some of you might realize you need to get up and stretch, take a walk, breathe some fresh air, look out a window. Whatever little tiny act that you need to do to manage that energy, go ahead and take it, do it. You got 30 seconds.
Yep. And that's sharing. Don't lose this, that's an opportunity for energy to be built as well, because it always generates noise and get comfort in some respects, but at the level that they wish to participate. No, we're done for. This is number 5. We've got 2 more straight after this, which are some of our favorites. You can do this seated, you could be standing up, but again, I'm gonna ask people to find a finger, and imagine directly above them is a clock face. Imagine the 12, the 3, the 6, and the 9. So if you want to, even point it out. So Chad, let's go ahead and do that. Point to the 12, move down to the 3, come to the 6, to the 9, back to the 12. And then I invite the group to keep going. So they're going to keep going around in effectively a clockwise direction. And then I ask them to continue in that circulative way and bring it below their nose and their chin, and then look down at the direction. And then I ask them, what direction is it going?
Do this right now. If you're watching this and you're not even if you're on a train.
Pause, do it right now. So you go up, you go to 12, 3, 6, 9, go all the way, keep going, that same direction. It started clockwise, and I often at this point ask them, what have you noticed? And they go, oh, got it wrong. It's going counterclockwise or anti-clockwise. So they do it again. And then really the kicker here is, apart from it's shifted their focus. They're now looking at, whoa, what happened? Because you probably didn't have everything at that point. And then when they realize that it's going the other direction, oh, you've got their attention now. And so at some point, you would ask a question that comes to that level. It's like, what changed? Their perspective. Now,
and most of the group, 98% of I've done this in groups of hundreds of people, and nobody has figured out. You might actually still be wondering and thinking that we psychologically tricked you into your hands spinning around the other way.
No trick.
Not a trick.
It's your perspective. You viewed it from underneath, and then when you look at it from the top, it now goes the other direction. Now, we probably don't even have to tell you this, but what a wonderful segue, what a great metaphor for pretty much anything. Any group dynamic, anything you're doing with your group, I'm sure a different perspective would be useful. So great energizer, but it's also a wonderful segue into something more powerful.
I was in New York City recently with 800 folks in senior roles in higher ed, and we did this exercise right before the next panel that they had coming up. And it was just my way of recaptivating the audience's attention as the MC and inviting them to say, what's going to happen in this panel quite likely will shift your perspective on how you think about university higher education from this moment forward.
Yep.
Right, so you've got a physical exercise that is now paired with an idea that's really useful, and that panel is really grateful for that because they're like, ooh, now they're listening. I better say something important.
Or has your group ever been stuck? And so I will stop a group mid-dysfunction and ask them to do this quick activity and invite them to do whatever was happening, go back to it from a different perspective.
Number 6, the name of the activity is the first step of the activity, so we're just going to do it. Touch blue. You're going to continue touching something blue until somebody else in the group calls out another action or activity. So touch blue.
Touch black.
Poke your nose. Oh, I said poke your nose? I don't know that this is, I don't know if I'm following the directions here.
Probably better than poking someone else's
But we're going to keep doing this until
someone else calls something else. You might say,
Caleb,
touch something.
Caleb's going to call the next one. You ready?
Sure. Touch gray.
Oh. Yeah, touch something soft. That's prickly. That's prickly.
Depending on how creative or uncreative your group is, we may stay in just touching colors. It doesn't have to be touch. And so as a facilitator, if you want to front load examples, all the activity is a verb. The Energizer could be called verb. All I did was give a command, touch blue, and so you went and did it. And then somebody else said something else, but you could say jump. And so you continue jumping until somebody else repeats it. So you can imagine if you do this in a group of 100 people and somebody says jump and you have 100 people jumping, that's energizing, and also the group very quickly is going to be eager to stop jumping, and so somebody else will call something else out. Stop! And when they yell out stop, it's going to create laughter. Now, follow my mother's advice on this activity. end the party while it's still fun. This is not a 5-minute activity. This is a 40-second max, perhaps, activity.
Yeah.
So just something really quick as a segue. Beautiful one after lunch to say, hey, we're getting to the end of our time. Our stomach is digesting. We're going to start talking about how do we put all these learnings into action. And so we're just going to seed that. We're just going to do a bunch of actions. Here's how it's going to work. And then you explain. Touch blue, blah, blah. You got the directions.
Yep.
Before I share number 7, these are some of our favorites, but there are so many possibilities. And this guy has a phenomenal database called Playmeal. You can get a free link in the description to get access to all these searchable exercises that you can find the exact right exercise for your group. Undoubtedly, one of these 7 will work, but if you really want to hone your craft and become a pro,
yeah, we can show you another 250 easily.
How much time do you have? Last exercise, quick quotes. This uses a deck of cards, which you can find a link in the description to print for free. So you can get the deck actually shipped to you, but you can also just print it out for free and use with your group. And it's a deck called We Engage cards that I created quotes on one side and images on the other. And really simply, you're going to just give everybody a card. You got a card? Mm-hmm. And you're going to ask people, as quickly as possible, start shopping. They're like, what? As quickly as possible, start shopping for a quote that you really, really like. Here's how you shop. This is like Black Friday if you live in the United States. This is like really chaotic shopping. People are running in, shoving each other, trying to get to TVs, right? And so quick quotes is, you're gonna read your quote. There might be one better, trade. I'm gonna read that quote. And you're gonna keep shopping by trading with people until you find a quote that you're like, ah. And when you find that quote, you are going to keep it and run to your seat because it is yours, right? You own that quote. And when you get seated, as a way of just kind of arriving, you can then, once everybody's seated and you've invited everybody to grab their quote and take a seat, you can invite people to just share, because the majority of the group will have ended up with a quote they really love. But there's gonna be some picky person who wants to shop slowly. And you're like, no, this is a 1-minute energizer. We gotta get this moving. And so the prompt that I would give here is, once they've been seated, is just share how this quote relates or does not relate to your life right now.
Yeah, and it's really important that you do those too.
Yeah.
Because it may not work out. Maybe someone doesn't have something that works for them.
You're like, I don't like this quote.
Yeah,
well, this is how it doesn't relate.
Yeah.
Right, so it keeps it completely open.
Hey, if you want to leverage like easily 5, 10, 20x these sorts of ideas to help your group connect and so forth, be sure to catch our next video. It's going to feature some of our best team building activities for debriefs. It's that thing that most people say I don't do very, very well at. Well, we're going to teach you some activities that'll help that stuff rocket to the top.
Have an awesome day.